What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast, your weekly source for a comedic spin on all the goings-on in the world. My name is Jacob Paveo, and I come to you each and every week from the Great White North every Tuesday evening, Eastern Standard Time, of course, fresh for y'all to download and listen to at work, or, well, maybe at home now, I guess, on Wednesday morning for everyone, the entire world around. And of course, this podcast comes to you completely ad-free, and all that I ask is you subscribe on any podcasting platform or over on YouTube, and tell your friends about me either in person or with a share over on social media, which helps a lot right now because everyone's on social media. Also, if you have a second, please go rate us 5 stars over on your favorite podcasting app because it is great help to us and helps the podcast show up much higher in searches. So thank you all for those of you that have gone and done that. I do read all the ratings, and it makes me feel good about myself. Unless you leave a bad rating, but in which case I won't feel bad about myself. So I guess it makes me feel good about myself either way. I've been doing this too long. I was on YouTube before this, so yeah, bad ratings, used to it. Okay, so I want to start by thanking everyone for sharing the podcast the past few weeks and reaching out to me. As I said last week, we're all in this together, so I've had a few different people reach out to me because they listened to the podcast, or I also posted on social media, so some people reached out because of that. As apart as we all may be right now, we'll all get through this shitty time here on this beautiful planet as long as we stick together. So thanks also for those of you asking me to do more episodes than I currently am. I've had a few requests for that. Ultimately, the problem is it's kind of twofold. So first, I really don't have enough listeners to support a bi-weekly or a daily show like has been requested. It takes about 10 hours for me by myself to do each episode, and I don't want the quality to drop just to do more. I understand that right now some people are really starved for content, but I do still also have a full-time job, which I'll get to in a little bit, but I am still working full-time, so I can't really give up 10 more hours every week or, every day to do more podcasts, although I would absolutely love to. But, of course, if you get enough people spreading the good news of the Laugh to Learn podcast, you might convince me otherwise. If the numbers were there, I would definitely be doing it. It's just that I have twice posted 2 episodes in 1 week, and typically people have like a schedule for their podcasts, so they listen to me on Wednesdays. I know I release it Tuesday nights, but Wednesday is the day I get most of my downloads, and then honestly for the rest of the week it drops down to like around 3 downloads a day and then a ton on Wednesday. So it's a little strange how podcasting works. But it's true that, people, just like TV shows used to be back in the day where you knew, okay, every Wednesday night, this is what we were watching when we got home. Podcasts are kind of like that now. So everyone knows on Wednesday they go and download my podcast, but they don't look for it again until next Wednesday. So I'd really need the listener count to increase by a lot for me to go out and try that again. Yeah, so second to that, and this is just me being completely honest, it is very draining right now to put this podcast together because on a normal week, there's some happy news to cover. There's like legitimately funny stuff to talk about, but really, as I said last week, everything in the news is COVID-19. And I know everyone is struggling and just spending so much time reading and listening about it. And unfortunately, they're really, especially now that I'm stuck in my house, I can't, there's no journalists going out there and getting different stories. We can't talk about sports. We can't talk about anything else because there's nothing else for me to bring up. I've been thinking about maybe doing an episode, like a detailed episode about something in science again. I've done that once or twice, so that might be a cool thing to do. But I first told you guys about the virus on my January 20th episode, right? So I've been on this topic for a while. And I know when I first talked about it, some people were like, why the hell are you bringing this up? I told you. See, my listeners, I'm always looking out for you. I knew it was coming. But it's really hard to keep talking about the same old thing So I'm working on ways around it. I've thought maybe about scheduling like a webcam conversation to have with someone, but that has its technical limitations and problems, of course. I might even drag someone that I live with on the mic, but again, none of them are really into it, so I'm trying to figure something else, but sadly I've canceled all future in-person conversations. I had a few lined up, but for obvious reasons, no one wants to do that, and I've said before that doing things on like Skype or some sort of webcam deal, it sometimes really hurts the listener because, if you're a fan of like Sam Harris, he's very good at it now because he spends a lot of money on his podcast, right? So it's very expensive to produce a well-done remote interview or conversation. But if you want to spend the money, you can do it very well, but I'm not in a position to spend, like, you're actually talking about $1,000 to $1,500 an episode to get it done properly, because there's a lot of talking over each other. There's a bit of lag, so I might start talking while that individual's still answering the last question, but I thought they were done, or vice versa. So, it has a lot of complications that I need to sort out. So I'm not even close to that, and I'm kind of hoping that things kind of normalize before it gets that far, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I'm hoping that, we just get through March, April, maybe May, and then by June we can, get things back to normal. There will be something else to talk about, and hopefully I can do an in-person interview. I might just reach out to someone who's been on the podcast already, who is comfortable with it, and we'll have a space that we can go to, maybe go back to Creative Signal or something like that. We have options, but it's definitely something I'm thinking about, a way that I can give you guys something else. But all that said, I am super thankful that you guys want more from me. But, what it comes down to is you got to tell others to listen. You just have to. You got to share it with other people. You got to tell other people about the podcast. This month was actually supposed to be a rather large marketing campaign. I have all the money set aside for it, but all of that has been sidelined because, if I do end up losing my job and I have to go on EI, which is in Canada, that's our employment insurance, I'll be making about 50 or 55% what I make right now. So, or maybe even less because I don't have children. They changed it, so I don't really know what I'd be getting, but I need that money to pay the bills, so I can't just be pouring money into the podcast right now, unfortunately. But, yeah, if you guys start sharing the podcast and give me a real reason, this is the time to do it, right? All your friends are at home looking for something to do. If you tell them about the podcast and listenership really goes up, you guys could convince me. If someone takes the reins there. I know I saw one person sent me a screenshot of sharing it with all of their Facebook friends. Thank you, but none of your friends clicked on it, straight up, I'll tell you. Because you sent me the photo and you're like, look, I'm telling everyone about it. And you even said that one of your friends is going to listen to it. And I can see how many downloads I got each day. And from that point on, this was on, I think, Saturday, or I think it was Saturday, and I didn't have any new listens that day, so thank you for sending it to your friends, but none of your friends clicked on it, so you got to get people to download and actually listen to it. Viewership is, or I shouldn't say viewership, it's a weird way but listenership is fantastic. Like, all you guys keep coming back every week. I almost have perfect retention, which is really exciting, so whenever someone does listen to it, they come back. But either way, I've rambled on too much. It's time to get into the episode. So today we are going to cover what it's like to be working from home, because that's new for me, and some of the stories that I've heard from friends and my associates, because my God, none of us were ready for this. So I'm also going to talk about what YouTube did last week. You might have seen my post over on, I think it was Instagram, but I'm not really sure. And what my plans are for the platform of YouTube moving forward. I kind of got fucked over, so we'll have to talk about that. But first, this morning, the province of Ontario released an 11-page list, that's not a joke, of what they consider an essential service. So this is right from our provincial government, and this is a hilarious way to start the show. So without any further ado, you know what it is. Right here, this is the Laugh to Learn podcast.
Hey,
Check it out! It's the Laugh to Learn podcast! Doug Ford, the man whose brother made him famous. I just realized that nobody talks about the fact that the crack-smoking mayor's brother is the premier of Ontario. How is that not a thing? Anyways, where was I? Ford's government today released the list of what is considered an essential service. And although I really don't want to read through all of, I mean, personally I've read through all of it, but I don't want to read through all of it here on the podcast. You know, I definitely have the time, but I don't need to waste it on that. We're going to focus instead on some of the quote-unquote services that the government has deemed essential and allowed to remain open. In short, because basically nothing in Ontario has to close. So let's jump over there and see exactly what was included. I made some notes for myself to follow. That's why I'm talking to kill some time. So first, there's a whole bunch of sections here, and some are legitimate. Like, don't get me wrong. There's definitely some legitimate things, like keeping food supply, medical supply, doctors, police officers, like, you know, garbage collection, solid waste and liquid waste collection, stuff that's like, okay, you know, hydro, telecommunications. These are all essential services, and I completely understand. But we're going to talk about some, and I'm going to start with a controversial one, because I actually think this is an essential service. I'm going to say why. But under retail and wholesaling, I'm going to just say the section of this this document that it's underneath, and then what we're going to talk about. So under retail and wholesaling, they listed, and I'll quote it exactly, beer, wine, and liquor stores, and alcohol producers and stores that sell beer and wine through arrangements with pre-authorized providers, cannabis stores, and cannabis producers. So all of these have been, everything I'm going to talk about has been deemed essential, meaning it will remain open in the province. Now, I actually think beer, wine, liquor, and cannabis remained open for two reasons. First of all, it's one that someone else pointed out to me, which I think is actually a valid point. Alcoholics will die without liquor. For those of you who don't know, if you're a legitimate alcoholic, you can't just stop drinking. It's literally like if you just stop taking heroin. As I say that, I realize most people probably don't know what happens if you just stop taking heroin. You actually die. Like when someone goes into withdrawals, if they're not managed properly and your body is physically addicted to those particular substances, you'll actually die. Now, cannabis, you can, I guess, be addicted to it, but there is no, it won't kill you if you, I mean, you could be like literally high every day for 40 years, and if on your 41st birthday you just don't smoke for the rest of your life, you're not going to die, you'll be fine. You might have like a headache or something for a few days, you'll get over it. But it'll suck falling asleep. But either way, if you're talking about alcohol, if you just stop drinking and you're addicted to alcohol, you'll actually die. But further to that, you have to realize what it does if you close down alcohol for the average person, right? Because I guess you could say like, well, then we'll provide alcohol in these certain circumstances, but it doesn't really work that way. But you have to look at the big picture. So if you shut down beer, wine, liquor, and cannabis hasn't been around, I mean, legally long enough for it to really make a difference. If you just shut them all down today, we'd all go back to the way we did it before. But with alcohol, looking at it historically, the very first thing that pops up is a black market. If you think there aren't a shit ton of people that are hoping these stores close because they're going to start selling them out the back trunk of their car, you are wrong. And I was on the phone with my brother today. He's like, there's no way, there's not enough time to set up a black market. Dude, every restaurant owner, all of the casinos, every privately owned business that has a shit ton of liquor right now would definitely sell it if suddenly something that they paid $24 a bottle for can be sold for $50 a bottle. Guaranteed it. All of them will be selling. So it opens up this big black market where, of course, the virus has a much larger chance of spreading in an uncontrolled sort of black market environment. And further to that, it can also cause like mass panic and rioting because, as bad as it sounds, you actually want your population a little bit dumbed out. You want people smoking their weed. You want people to sit at home at night, have their drink, and relax. Like, genuinely, this is a real thing. And hopefully, as I'm saying that, some people are going, oh, yeah, that's actually a good point. Because as a politician, there is some politics to be played here. You don't want people sober, sitting at home, getting pissed day after day after day, right? Because this is a very stressful time for people. You need some way that people can get it out of their systems. And if they're at home getting drunk, who cares? Just let it be. And that's kind of the way that I'm sure they are looking at it. Next listed under here are office products. So businesses that supply office products and services, including providing computer products and related repair and maintenance services for individuals working from home and for essential businesses. Now, part of this I agree with. Any sort of computer repair for an essential business or for an individual working from home, I understand, like computer repair and maintenance. However, a business supply company like Best Buy is one that's international that people will know, definitely does not need to be open, right? Staples, I think Staples is North American specifically, but it's an office supply depot. They do not need to be open right now. There are plenty of companies that sell direct-to-business products that could remain open, right? They do the computer repair, and they sell directly to businesses. You don't need a store you can walk in and buy a pack of pens right now. You can order them off Amazon. You can order them offline from these companies, no problem. There's no reason that you have to be able to walk into a store and buy paper or pens right now. Just none. Absolutely none. If you're an essential business and you get to the point where you're fucking running out of paper like that, then what the hell is wrong with you? That's not. As someone who works for an essential business, we're not even close to running out of office supplies, okay? Like, if I needed office supplies, I would just go into work later today and buy me some office supplies. It's absolutely ridiculous that a store like that is considered essential. Next, we're going to scroll through. So they talk about food services and accommodations. I agree, should remain open. Institutional, residential, commercial, and industrial maintenance, of course, should be open. But then we get telecom and IT infrastructure. Most of this, I agree, should remain open. However, it specifically states that for businesses providing telecommunication services, as well as support facilities such as call centers necessary for operation and delivery. Bull fucking shit. There is no reason that you need to call your cell phone. I'm with Fido. That's my phone provider. If I wanted to change my plan, I wanted to add perhaps more call time, I think that's too damn bad right now. They have online services. You can cancel your service online. No problem. You can't get new service because they need to physically have your phone in their hand. That's no problem. Why the hell do we have call centers open? Why are we filling call centers with people? It doesn't make sense. We're trying to stop the spread of clearly a very, very lethal and easily contractable virus. And you want call centers to remain open? Like, if you're sitting at home upset like that, I don't know, something's wrong with your phone, calls aren't going through or whatever. Well, if calls aren't going through, how the hell are you calling the company? But I can't think of a possible reason. If your phone breaks, sorry, you're going to have to wait until July. Your personal cell phone is not a societal issue. It's a personal issue. This is about societal issues, right? That's simply not one. You can go online and buy a new phone and have it shipped to you. If you don't want to pay for it right now or you're unable to, I'm sorry, but you have to wait. But apparently not. That's considered an essential service. That one actually, I don't know why, but for some reason I was like, what the hell? Just stupid. Then we go through manufacturing and production. Of course, those need to remain open. Agriculture and food production. Of course, those need to remain open. Then we get to construction. Now, construction, for the most part, makes sense. They talk about things like construction in the healthcare sector, building new facilities and expansions, renovations and conversions of space for being repurposed for healthcare. I agree that that should be completely allowed. It makes sense. Then they go into construction projects required to ensure safe and reliable operation of critical infrastructure like transit. Yeah, actually, this is a great time to fix the highways. Keep people apart, bring out smaller teams, make them drive separately. But I think it's actually a really good idea. The roads are empty right now. This is a perfect time to keep people employed at a distance and fix our roadways and bridges. It's a fantastic idea. And then they talk about services including demolition in the industrial, commercial, institutional, and residential sectors. Now, why in the hell are we offering demolition services and residential construction? That doesn't make sense. If a building needs to come down, like it's literally falling down, we'll make an exception. If you just want a building to come down, you can fucking wait. What are you talking about? How is that essential? It gives a rat a home for a little while? Like, okay, some rats will stay alive. Whatever. We'll deal with it later. They're not spreading this virus. And then the residential construction, look, I understand. I have lots of friends who have bought homes and condos and stuff. You gotta wait. Like this has to be stopped. Like it seriously has to be stopped. The construction workers need to be protected. This literally means that if you are a construction worker in literally any field, you can keep working. Literally any field. Residential construction. That can be landscaping, putting in a pool. How the hell is any of that essential? It needs to be stopped. And I hope a lot of these businesses, because most of these individuals, if you're in the city, sure, you're unionized. But like when I worked in it, when my father worked in it, even back in the day when my grandfather, not unionized at all, because wasn't in the city, not unionized. My grandfather was in the city, but of course that was several years ago. But these are the sort of things that absolutely need to be stopped. That's a joke. Come on. You're offering demolition services and you're still building homes for people to move into? That's a joke. We don't need that right now. Utilities. I'm looking at the wrong page. I need to scroll to it. So there's a few things that are utilities that I want to talk about. The first is corrections and courts. Now, for sure, people are breaking the law and going to get arrested. I agree with that. But right now, court service should be all phone in only. However, I know for a fact it is not. I know an individual who works in prisoner transport, and I was like, oh my God, you're still working? Yep, every single day they pick up prisoners and they drive them to court. For some reason, it's not done by webcam, which it can, right? There are certain prisoners who do it by webcam. Every single day, some of them do it by webcam. All of them should be right now. You just line them up. You bring them into the little room one at a time. They sit in front of the camera with a screen in front of them so they can see the courtroom, and they have their conversation on bail or whatever it might be. But they shouldn't be transporting prisoners around. If prisoners get sick, it spreads so fast through that system, so quickly. You have literally hundreds of individuals locked in cells together. Like, how... I don't know. That's one of those when I read that, I'm like, oh my God, how are you still running fully? I understand why correction and courts need to remain open and operating, but like when you get down to like provincial courts and stuff, like traffic courts, obviously that's all stopped. But how are you running a bail hearing with the prisoner in front of you? So you're going to send him to prison. Sorry, you're going to send him to jail for the night. Bring him out and have him sit a bail hearing in a room full of people after sitting in a holding cell full of other people. If they get told they can't get out, or if they're not getting out on bail for whatever reason, then they go back to that holding cell to wait to now go to a long-term holding facility where they'll be for another 3 or 4 months waiting for their court date. And all that time, all that travel time is just opportunity for them to contract the virus, on top of perhaps already having it before getting to jail. It's messed up. Like, it's absolutely messed up. Something needs to be done about that. The next thing under utilities, this is absolutely not a utility. And people are, like, furious that this might have been cut. But government services like licensing and permits. Specifically, that's what they list: licensing and permits. Sorry, if you don't have a license right now, too bad. Too bad you're not getting one. Like, they're like, oh, we need people who to get truck driver license. I don't want someone getting a truck driver's license right now. If you waited for the coronavirus pandemic to try and get a job as a truck driver, I need you to wait. I don't want you on the road. No, thank you, man. No, thank you. If it's just a timing thing and it worked out that way, I'm sorry, but I'm not taking the risk. There are definitely a lot of people who don't know how to fucking drive that this is the best opportunity. Because right now, no one wants you to come back. They'll be like, sure, take your license and go, even if you can't drive. And we all know it's true. So, and for licensing, like, for example, my license expires on my birthday this year in early June. You know what? I think if your license is expiring in this time, they should just say, you know what, we're going to hold them all off until this date. Pick like July 1st. Of course, I picked that because it's after when mine expires. But just say, like, as of July 1st, everyone's license will expire. Between now and then, you can keep driving. If your license expires, we'll just push the date for everyone. To me, that would make total sense. But now, like, I'm going to do mine online. Like, I'm going to go in, I'm not going in person to sign paper. No, thank you. But these, like, how is that an essential service? Licenses? No, we already have professionals in place. We already have drivers. If you're 16 and you want your license, sorry, dude. 16-year-olds are cool. I love you guys. Some of you listen to the show. Shout out to you. But you're going to have to wait to get your license because it's just... it's not a time when we need more 16-year-olds on the road. I was 16 once, and you know what I was when I was 16? Not a good driver, okay? And it's just true. So we don't need new truck drivers. We don't need 16-year-old drivers. We need to just hold off. Everyone can get their license when they reopen, and they need to close because that's just a bad idea. So now we're going to scroll through. Communications industries are all open. Newspapers, radio and television, and then telecom providers. Some people were upset by that. But to me, it makes sense because, first of all, you need journalists working. The government absolutely should not be able to tell journalists they can't journalize. They can't journal? I don't know. Anyways, the government cannot tell journalists they can't do their job because that's violating a human right, a basic right of being a Canadian. But definitely interesting to see that they just gave blanket, nope, if you work in media at all, you can keep working. I like it, but it's interesting. Some people were mad. I think it's really important that we have someone that we can look at on TV live giving us these updates or on the radio live giving us these updates. I think it's really important. So I don't actually have a problem with that. But after that, they talk about research. So specifically, it says businesses and organizations that maintain research facilities and engage in research, including medical research and other research and development activities. Adam the engineer, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk shit on your job right now. So anyone who does any sort of research outside of the medical field should not be working. If they can work from home, which Adam the engineer is, then that's fine. And anyone's allowed to work from home, right? Like, anyone can work from home. But no one should be going into a research facility working in, like, literally anything except medicine. If you're going in to do research on some sort of strange fluid dynamic system for an air conditioner or like automotive or you're researching and designing new instruments, new guitar shapes and stuff like that, how is that okay? And this is legitimate. Like, you're allowed to do this. Food, I know individuals who are working in kitchens researching food recipes, and it's legal. Right here, it covers it. That stuff shouldn't be allowed. Research only in the field of medicine. And I know part of it is probably that we don't want Ontario and Canada to fall behind, but we just have to let it happen right now. Like, unfortunately, if you're tracking some sort of interstellar movements, measuring redshift between the stars, and maybe you're about to have a big breakthrough, I know it sucks. I know you've been working years on it. I know someone in South America might see it first, but you just got to go home. You can't do it. You can't be in the lab. I really don't think we can allow it, but for now we are. And finally, I'm going to get to other businesses. So scrolling all the way down to the bottom, I want to talk about land registration and real estate. There's no way you should. And a whole lot of my friends are real estate agents. Some of you listen to the show. I really don't think we should be selling homes right now. Like, I'm in the market for a house. Well, I'm not anymore, but I was, and I will be. You know what I mean? But not right now. That's not happening right now. Like, you know what I mean? You can be like, oh, I have the best deal on a house. You have to see it. It's extremely cheap, blah, blah, blah. Dude, you could not convince me to walk into some random person's house right now, like, no matter what the deal is. I shouldn't say that. If it was like a 14-bedroom home, beautiful wraparound upstairs balcony, 6 bathrooms, indoor and outdoor pool, and it was like $40,000, I'd probably just sign the mortgage and buy it. I don't have to go look at it. I can save some money, send a team in to spray it down, and then go look at it. And guess what? If it's shitty, at least I can be like, well, I bought the property for $40,000 and it's worth more than that. So, but that's the sort of thing, like, it'd be very, very difficult to get me to go in and walk through a house right now. And I know I saw one of my friends just sold a house this weekend, and he was like in the picture in front of the house, and I'm just thinking like, oh my God, all of those people walked through that house recently. Like, ew. I couldn't imagine. I don't want to be in my own house right now. I want to be like in a tent in the woods by myself. Like, I am not walking through someone else's house. For all my friends who are real estate agents, I feel for you. I hope that you guys are able to just kind of work from home and maybe build your client list or something. I really hope you guys aren't being sent into homes, because I couldn't do it. And I respect you if you are, but oh no, I don't think we should be allowing the real estate market to move forward. Plus, that helps me because, as I mentioned, I'm probably going to be back in the market once this is all over, and I definitely am hoping to get a sweet deal on a house. And if no one can sell houses for a while, it means when they can sell houses, there will be a whole bunch on the market, and I'll be able to pick up a sweet deal. So I think, for both political and personal reasons, that should happen. And lastly, I want to talk about staffing services. So businesses providing staffing services, including temporary help. I think this should be put on hold because I know there are some industries that really rely on this. For example, so, most businesses, I started saying like 6 things at the same time there. Most businesses that I am aware of and have either been a part of directly or been in discussion with directly have all stopped hiring temporary employees for very obvious reasons. It only takes one sick person to shut down an entire business. I think the province should have just taken the step and said, you know what, temporary business is not allowed. So this is companies that basically they provide individuals for work. So if I owned, I own my podcasting business. If I needed a laborer to carry podcasting gear around, I don't know, I would pay this company. It's usually like $22, $23 an hour you pay the company. They pay the employee like $17 or $18 an hour, and then the company keeps that difference. So they're on the staff, the laborer is on the payroll of the labor company, and I just contract the labor company to do my work that I need done. Not that you guys needed to know all of that, but that's how it works. But because you're bringing in different people essentially almost every day, it just ups the opportunity to spread the virus to an extreme rate, because suddenly you have someone who's working at all these different companies like every day of the week, right? Over 5 days of the week, you could be at 5 different companies, and that's completely not unheard of. That's actually quite common. And that's the sort of thing that like you really want to put a stop to. You don't want that. So I think staffing services for that reason should be closed. Ultimately, by the time you get to the end of the list, you kind of realize that very little is closing in Ontario. There are tons of people online making fun of it. I think hopefully you guys have read about some of that. If you're not a resident here, I hope it was still kind of interesting to see, like, this is the weird shit that we've deemed essential. Like, the government put out a document saying this is essential, right? It's very strange to me. It's very strange times for all of us, I'm sure. But either way, let's just keep smiling while we look at these weird things our governments are putting out. Try to stay positive. and we'll get through all of this together. This week in Stupid. Well, Doug Ford's announcement is definitely the number one thing in Stupid this week, but nonetheless, an England arcade, and I'm not joking about the name of this arcade, it's called Devon's Ho Bart's Amusement Arcade. That's Devon's Ho, with an exclamation mark, Bart's Amusement Arcade. Decided to swap a claw machine's prizes. You know, usually that claw machine that drops down, you grab like a stuffed animal with it, and usually it misses. So they've decided to swap the prizes for hand sanitizer and toilet paper. This all as the outbreak began last week in the UK. It has been shut down now, but the owner told Fox News, and I quote, "We still have a large machine that used to have a Spider-Man doll, but now there's a large Curex soap in there, and that's the Rolls Royce of hand sanitizer," end quote. So everyone who can't get hand sanitizer, soap, and toilet paper are coming to use the same claw machine in hopes of winning some. Someone's got to tell them, and it's not going to be me. An 8-year-old boy won a $200 prize at his Hockey Association's charity raffle last week. Unfortunately, it wasn't until the prize was received that his parents realized he had actually won $200 worth of pot, edibles, along with a lighter and a pipe to smoke it all with. The boy thought he was entering to win some delicious chocolate, but didn't realize he booked his ticket on the stairway to heaven. Luckily, he didn't consume any of it, and both feet remained firmly planted on the ground. It's not clear if the family opted to take the prize or the cash, as both were an option. Single individuals have turned to Craigslist and Kijiji to find lockdown love amid the coronavirus pandemic. Both sites have had multiple posts offering things like, and I quote, "1 bedroom, rent-free for temporary live-in girlfriend," end quote, offering a 100 square foot bedroom. The ad read in full, quote, "I have an extra room, although would rather us be together, but not a deal breaker. I'm looking for a live-in situation, and you can have room rent-free. I'm very well stocked up on food and beverages. If interested, please reply with a pic," end quote. So, ladies, if you're in the Manhattan area, this guy sounds like a real red flag, and you should absolutely not go live with someone random like that right now. I never thought I'd have to say that on my podcast, but no matter how horny you get, friends, no hookups, and most definitely no move-ins, at least until coronavirus is over. And finally, in Portland, Oregon, this week, actually, the dreams of all those guys who sit in strip clubs on Tuesday afternoons has finally come true. Lucky Devil Lounge, a popular strip club in the city, has begun a new venture they are calling Boober Eats. You heard that right, Boober Eats, and I'm sure you can guess where this is going. So you order food, and 2 strippers with their tits out will deliver it to your door. The entire club still remains employed, with the kitchen cooking as usual, and bartenders now taking orders and managing social media. The strippers are, of course, delivering the food, and the security guards are driving and going with the girls to ensure their safety. So basically everyone but the DJ still has a job. So congratulations, Oregon. You did it. Don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and family. Tell them all about it. Mention it to your friends at work. If you guys are using some Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever, just tell them about it over there. And make sure everyone in your life knows all about the incredible content available completely ad-free each and every Tuesday evening. As always, thank you all so much for the support, and feel free to reach out to me anytime using the contact page at www.laughtolearnpodcast.com or on social media. Both of those links can be found in the description for this episode on your podcast platform of choice. Side note, I've read this literally 56 times because I've never changed the mid-podcast read, and this is the first time I completely butchered it. I have no idea what in the hell I was talking about. Next time I do that, I'm definitely going to save it for you guys. But anyways, that's a little bit of humor for myself, I suppose. Let's get back to the episode. So this was my first day working from home in a full-time capacity. I've done a few days and more than a few weekend days, but never with the intention of legitimately working from home for days or, it seems like it might be weeks at a time. And this had a list of problems that I never imagined. Now, first of all, my podcasting studio is sort of taking up the other half of my bedroom, and you learn really quickly that waking up and working in the exact same room drives you to madness real quick. The very first thing I did was rearranged everything, so I now have basically two separate rooms, one larger one where I am now. It's kind of my office and my podcast studio now, which is kind of fun, although I've been sitting here since 7 a.m. this morning, and it's 9 at night, so it's also not really that fun. Yeah, it's likely, or rather, if it's likely, that you'll be moved to work from home, seriously heed my advice here and set up ahead of time. It took me a very long time today to figure all this out, figure out exactly where I would be and organize things. But after I was organized, I had to run an Ethernet cord to my computer, which was a whole thing, because I need to access a much more demanding virtual private network, VPN system, which requires, that's what I need to work from home. And that requires much better internet than my basic Wi-Fi would provide. After that, I needed to organize all my office supplies. That's basically where I am at now. I have to go through and sort out what I need day to day and kind of keep it on hand. But seriously, if you guys are going to be working from home, you have to get ahead of it. You have to get ahead of the curve on this one. It's something that I was like, yeah, I can work from home, no problem. I have everything I need, which I do, right? Physically, I have everything I need. But my God, I was not ready. I wasn't organized. So if you're going to be working from home, seriously start planning ahead. Luckily for me, I'm obsessed with office supplies, and that's not a joke, actually. Legitimately, when the TLC, the Learning Channel, makes a weird show about office supply hoarders, I'm going to be on season 1. I won't be like the first or the last episode, like the really crazy, interesting ones. I'll be like the guy in the middle who's like, oh yeah, like here's my collection of calculators, and here's all the different pens from around the world that I have. All true stories. But yeah, really, it's kind of interesting to see that finally my insanity is proving to have come in use. I also want to bring this up because I have a friend who legitimately had nowhere to work and had never really thought through what would happen. So in their home, they have one office space with a desk, but now both spouses are working from home. So this individual had to create a makeshift desk with some wood and 2 bookshelves. And now at this point, it's very difficult to order in office desks or chairs. Plus, you don't want to buy a second desk because this is most likely at least temporary, right? So seriously, start putting your workstation together right now if you're expecting to be working from home. Think about it in relation to your spouse or other family members as well. If you only have one office space, both of you have to work full-time from home. You got to have that figured out ahead of time. It's a strange concept, and it's an important thing to work about. An important thing to think about. Holy, my speech is slurring. It's like I'm drunk, but I promise you I'm not. Now, this concept, of course, is awesome because I guess you could get drunk while you're sitting at work. You have yourself a scotch or something. That's actually not a bad idea. I may have to indulge this week. But, personally, I have a few video meetings each day. Essentially, other than that, I could just roll out of bed, turn on the computer, and get to work with a nice lunchtime nap. But one thing I hadn't thought about is when I'm on camera, it needs to look good around me. I can't be looking like I'm living in no shithole. So I've already started putting together stuff behind me so it looks like I lead I lead a pretty interesting life. But, put stuff around me that's like, look, I've done interesting things. Here's a weird picture of me. Stuff like that. Here's me doing something cool for you to look at while we're talking. But just things that you've never thought about before. Like you might be on webcam with your boss later this week. So just think that through. Decide where you're going to sit so that it doesn't look like, you're in your bedroom or something or, in some sketchy room or something like that. You can do it in your bedroom. That's fine, obviously. But, you don't want all your pile of laundry behind you while you're talking to your boss. You don't want them to see yo nasty boxers sitting on top of your laundry pile. But I implore you all to please not fall into the cycle of just rolling out of bed and sitting at your computer and working and then crawling back in bed afterwards, because, it can be really dangerous for your mental health. If you're working from home or laid off right now, which I know many of you, of course, are, unfortunately to the latter, please get up in the morning and get ready as if you're still going to work. Do your hair, get dressed, brush your teeth, do whatever your normal morning routine is. Get your body feeling like it's a regular business day. And do this throughout the weekend too, because weekends now are different, right? If we're all stuck at home, the weekend isn't really the weekend. It's really not. Like, I already have kind of realized that I've actually pushed 2 calls for work into the weekend with someone, because I was like, well, I'm going to be here anyways. And you know what I mean? There's no difference anymore to a weekend. So you have to kind of be sure to, you can sleep in a little bit, but try to work your normal hours. Be sure to organize your life. Get your job done. If you struggle, you can always walk away, make a coffee or a tea, and go sit back down. Maybe go sit outside. Hopefully you have at least a balcony or something you can go and sit on for 10 or 15 minutes and just kind of, take a deep breath and let it all go. If you are laid off right now, I have decided that I'm going to bring back the What I've Done segment back every week to talk about the things I've been doing to pass the time. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. I give you some sort of idea of what you might be able to do this week, and I'll get to that at the end of every episode while the world is still locked down. And you can find the time that's in the timestamps, of course. But working from home, of course, it has its benefits. I get to spend time with Benny, my beautiful puppy, and I can schedule things around my day. So like today we had some work done on the house, and I was able to just kind of walk away for a bit to assist. Lunch breaks are nice with a full kitchen. And all of my distressors, I call them, like my drums and my guitar and stuff like that, are right beside me. So when I'm like really stressed, I can just pick up an instrument and start playing, or start taking notes for the podcast really easily and stuff like that. These things are all important. So just remember, as I keep saying, we're all in this together. Make sure you have some structure in your life, even if you're laid off. I know right now it might still feel like a vacation because it's kind of new, but it's really not. Like it's at least 14 days, as we all kind of know. But it really looks like it's going to be more than that. And just be prepared for the long haul here. Like, I'm going into this with 6 to 8 weeks in mind. More like 8 weeks. I'm thinking until basically the end of May. I'm looking at it like that. I'm expecting to be here until the end of May. Literally, as I circle around the room, even though none of you can see me, I'm dramatically spinning my chair and moving the mic with me to look at the 4 walls around me. We are going to be locked in these 4 walls for 8 weeks. That's the way I'm looking at it. You should start to. And yeah, just bring some structure. Get yourself a plan. And at the end of the episode, I'm going to talk to you about my whiteboard plan, but we'll get there in a little bit. Next, I want to talk about YouTube. Now, I knew this would happen, and I called it a few months ago, but for 2 weeks, I've been posting all podcast episodes on YouTube, and everything was going. It was going. But I wasn't doing very well on YouTube, but I was on YouTube. But this past week, you may recall, I played 8 seconds of the song Like a Cholo. I thought it was fucking hilarious. That's why I did it. Well, those 8 seconds apparently warranted the rights holder of the song the ability to place an ad on my video and collect all revenue. So on a 1-hour podcast that I wrote and edited and I've been marketing for a year and a half, this company said, oh, we're going to put an ad on your video and we're going to collect the money. Now, no. No. Now, I'm not drawing anything as far as numbers on YouTube right now, right? There's no one clicking on that ad. But fuck you. That's not even the point. That's not even happening. It's not happening, ever. No one is ever making money off of the work I've done for nothing. Don't get me wrong. I'm hoping one day lots of people will make money off my podcast, but not like this, not for doing nothing, right? I didn't write that hour-long episode for your 2007 have an ass to swoop in and collect 4/10 of a penny off of every click that happens on my video. Not happening. I was so pissed when I saw this. Now, and I've known for years that this was a thing. When I was on my old show, 10 Minutes Today, that's the show I did with Mate, who's been on the podcast, we talked about the loophole. I forget what he called it, but you can use two different songs so that both companies file a claim, and then no one gets paid. So the ad shows up on your video, but no one ever gets paid for the ad. It was created by this guy, Jim Sterling, a great video games YouTuber, really interesting dude, and like professional wrestler now, which is weird. Or maybe not professional, but I don't know. He wears spandex and runs around a ring. Anyways, I don't want any ads on any of my stuff right now. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just not what I do. So what I will be doing moving forward is continuing to post everything on YouTube. But the second anything is flagged, I'm just going to take it down, and I'm going to leave it on the podcast servers, of course. Podcasts are fine on all the podcasting platforms. I've never had any issues. Because I follow the law. Like, I studied music business. I understand intellectual property laws. I know what fair use actually is. I was not in violation of any YouTube policies. It specifically said that in what they sent me, but they said that ads will be placed and it will be sent to them because it wasn't a copyright flag. It was a copyright claim. But bro, you didn't do shit for that video. No one thought about the song Like a Cholo literally since 2007 until I put it in that video. So you can go and fuck yourself. Of course, one day I really do hope to be able to profit off of this and place ads on my podcast, and you know what I mean. But until then, like, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. I'm going to do everything I can to keep things ad-free in every way that I can. YouTube has been doing this shit for a very long time. If you just Google YouTube intellectual property issues, you will see a ton of stuff. For those of you like me who have been following it for a long time, I knew it was coming. I knew it was only a matter of time. Honestly, I thought I would be flagged for content because of some of the stuff I say and talk about. But in the end, it ended up being like 8 seconds of a song. So, yeah, I'm going to still post on YouTube. Keep you guys abreast over there for the two of you who listen to me on YouTube. Thank you. But you know, I'm just not going to focus on YouTube. Lastly, let's get to what I've done. So I talked to you last time about some ideas for how to kill time, and now it seems like more and more people are going to be off. So I think I'm just going to do this every week. Like, these are the things I've been doing, and some of the things I plan to do. So first of all, I'm going to start with the whiteboard plan. I had it at the end of the list, but I've already mentioned it. So I busted out my old whiteboard from my dorm. It's actually sitting on the floor beside me. But once I'm done this and the podcast is published, I'm going to put it up on the wall that I'm pointing at right now, even though none of you can see it. It's right in front of me above my computer, and it's going to have my week-long stuff I want to deal with and my day-to-day stuff for work that I want to deal with and tasks to get through. And I'm making sure that I only do one big task a day, because I want to spread this out over those 8 weeks, making sure I always have stuff to do, and really trying my hardest to ensure that I'm getting things done, I'm achieving what I want to achieve, I'm keeping myself active and not just getting bored, and, you know, it just kind of gives you a goal, something you can check off or erase from your whiteboard. So a whiteboard, or, I mean, you can even do it on paper, an app in your phone, anything like that, just so that you can kind of orient yourself, target yourself towards certain goals. I think that would be a good idea. Further to that, I started reading another book that I didn't talk about last time. It's called Norse Mythology, and guess what? It's Norse mythology, so it's really fun. I love reading mythology. It's the sort of thing that anyone can get into. Like, if you just like stories in general, you should read mythology. It's some of the names can be kind of complicated to pronounce, and the names of cities and stuff, but Norse mythology, Greek mythology, they're the two that are, I mean, the easiest to get into, the most fun stories, and maybe I'll actually tell some mythological stories moving forward, too. That could be a fun thing to do. Yeah, either way, I've been reading some Norse mythology. And yeah, it's cheap. It's actually free to read, like, a lot of mythology online. I actually have a physical book, but you can definitely just Google some mythology stories, and they're fun to read to kids. Make sure they know it's fake. You're not like indoctrinating them into like a 1,500-year-old religion, but it's fun stories that you can tell kids. Next, a podcaster I'm a big fan of, Colin Moriarty, wrote and released a video game called Twin Breakers. So I'm going to be playing that a little bit tonight. It's a brick breaker. It's $10 or $13, I think, Canadian, $10 US, on the PlayStation Store. So I think it's only available on PlayStation and Vita. But if you own either of those two consoles, you want to give it a try, that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. A nice time killer. Just a little arcadey game. It looks like a little bit of fun. Also, I rearranged my office. I talked about that at the top of the show. I now have like a legitimate office space. Plus, I can easily move everything so I can work out here. I basically gave myself like a separate spot where I can work out, do my podcasting. I'm gonna be my PlayStation set up here, so it's gonna be like my place, especially if I get sick, because I'm also prepared if I get sick to be locked down. Right? I'm actually thinking about this, and you guys need to think about it too. Like if I get sick, I'm good. I've now got it all set up. I just need a mini fridge, but there's one in our shed, so I'm gonna. You know what I'm saying? If I get sick, that mini fridge coming down here so I can have my drinks. Also, playing a lot of instruments, really getting into playing my guitar. I ordered myself a harmonica because I was like, that looks easy to learn. I guess we'll find out when I get it. But doing stuff like that, I've mentioned already, if you have an instrument, pull it out, dust it out of the closet. Just try. Like all we have is time. There's no need for any of us to be bored. I've also been walking around singing the song Mana Mana. The Muppet song, Mana Mana, do 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 do. I've literally been walking around the house singing that, driving other people crazy. But it makes me laugh every time I hear that song. So find something that makes you laugh and get into it. And lastly, I'm probably going to try and organize a cocktail hour with some friends for this weekend. I think it'll be fun. We're just going to get on webcam and drink together. So I'm going to start hitting some people up tonight to organize that. If you're having one, invite me to it because I would love to join. And yeah, just get some friends together and sort it out. I already have one text from Mate saying his internet is not good enough, and I'm calling bullshit publicly. But yeah, reach out to your buddies. Set something up. Like we're all just bored at home so let's just be bored together kind of thing. There's no reason not to reach out to people. Be nice to people, and we're going to get through this. But I'd like to thank you all for listening. I encourage you, of course, to take the discussions we had here to those you live with and to those on social media, but not to people in person right now, because that's dangerous. Or with me over on Instagram or on Twitter. As always, this podcast was completely ad-free, and all that I ask is you share it with your friends and your family. Please share the podcast, especially if you want more content. If you share it and those numbers climb, I'm definitely on board to give you guys a little something, you know what I'm saying? Subscribe wherever you happen to be, and tell your friends about me. I already said that. Until next time, everyone, please keep your heads up, keep on smiling. We are just like High School Musical. We are all in this together, all right? Keep on laughing and keep on learning.